from what I understanding was that they were already making Chicken Run, Peter Lord and Nick Park, and DreamWorks at the time was exploring different types of animations. I mean, they were doing traditional, they were doing, 3D, and was this something that came right at the beginning of the production, or was it somewhere in the middle when Jeffrey Katzenberg and the DreamWorks and the company decided like let's get them involved and distribute this film?
I think it's true that they were trying different processes for animation. I mean, Shrek in the early days, we went through a long experiment with motion capture, performance capture. That was it was a little bit ahead of its time. Wasn't quite ready for feature filmmaking yet. And I think that the Aardman folks had done one sort of story reel, sort of put together the storyboards with music and sound effects and dialogue as a tryout. That's sort of the main creative process for editing animated movies. And it didn't look like what DreamWorks was used to seeing. It was less sophisticated. They didn't sort of understand the DreamWorks way of getting to make notes and see it as a story development tool. And so that I understood now the DreamWorks way, which was different from other places because of Jeffrey Katzenberg's strong personality. And so I went over there to sort of be a bridge between the two studios, understanding what the DreamWorks expectations were and figuring out how best to work with the good folks at Aardman.
Right. And that must have been interesting because Nick Park and Peter Lord and Aardman, they're sort of like a very independent place,
Hmm.
right? Like a small studio, and they just like their world as creative individuals, which is the way it should be. And then just trying to work with a big studio, right? How did what kind of challenges were there trying to sort of accept that and letting things go by also keeping their own, essence of what they do?
Well, the trick for Aardman was that they thought since they knew how to make these Wallace and Gromit sort of 20-minute, half-hour short films,
Mm,
that making a feature film would just be like making three of those. And it's a different thing because it's a longer scale that you're asking an audience to sit through. It's more complex, and the story has to have an arc that lasts over the whole length of the running time. So it's not just a thing where you can just put gags in, that there has to be sort of this dramatic
story.
structure that holds it
Okay.
together. And that was new to the Aardman folks. And for the DreamWorks people, it was new to deal with these people who were doing stop motion. They had little clay figurines of these chickens. And if you look at the film on a big screen, you can see there's thumbprints in the silicon, in the plasticine on the characters, where it's very handmade and has sort of an English love of craftsmanship involved with it, which was unique to Aardman. And the sort of story style, the sort of cinematic imagination of Nick Park is very specific, and he loves what he loves. And to work with him doing big action scenes was different than an American style film. And it was a really, yeah, that was a real good learning experience for, I think, on all sides.
I assume you were the Rocky in the post-production world as an American working in the British.
There were one of, yes. We did scratch voices as well, because we have to sort of act out the story before the cast comes in to do the scenes. But a lot of the voices had been recorded by the time that I came on,
Right.
and really good voice talent. A lot of them are still very active in English theater and film now.
Yeah, no, I mean, aside from Mel Gibson, everybody was more or less, British theater actors, and
Yeah.
they made the second one, which I haven't seen, because as soon as I found out they didn't cast Mel Gibson for whatever reason, contract or whatever, I didn't dive into it. Um, but were you ever physically present on the set where I mean, I've seen a lot of behind the scenes stuff of all of their stuff, like Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run, like just to see that world that they create.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that was one of the best parts about it. That's what I like about stop motion in general, is that the sets are usually in the same building. Like we were in a big warehouse on the outskirts of Bristol in the southwest of England. And so the ground floor was all the sets where they did the shooting. So they
Hmm.
the big black curtains they divided in, I think, to 30 different sets. And the editing and the offices and the screening rooms were on those upstairs on the second floor. So when we were really going at full pace, I would be working on the storyboards of a scene, and then I could go downstairs and they were shooting it that same day. And I could see the scene with the characters lit on like little, if you've seen the sets before, they're like sort of like a model train set, sort of
Yeah.
table sets with lighting and characters and backgrounds. And so everything's shot at once as opposed to like computer animation where it's all in different passes through it in terms of render and clothing and hair and effects and all that stuff. It's all done in camera. And it was great to see the characters that I saw in a drawing upstairs. I would walk downstairs and see the very same scene being shot that day with that character on a set that's lit and everything, which was beautiful. And with one of the actors, one of my favorite memories of Chicken Run is there was a day near the end when they brought the cast back to sort of visit the set and see what they were doing. And Julia Sawalha, who did the voice of Ginger,
Yeah.
came on a tour around and we were sitting together at lunch and I was looking at her and hearing her talk about something. And all I could see was Ginger's face. I mean, it was really hard to imagine that voice that I've been listening to for a year coming out of a real person and not some plasticine chicken with a big beak of a nose.
That's awesome. So I guess her real voice is very similar to Ginger,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Chicken
yeah, yeah.
Run.
It's clearly
That that
her.
that is so cool. I think, honestly, like, yeah, Mel Gibson is Mel Gibson, but she really carried the film.
Hmm.
I saw it this morning, just to refresh my memory, and just her accent and her confidence and her perseverance of not giving up to get the hell out
Hmm.
of here. She literally carried the film, and I know Mel Gibson's a big name, but I think she carried the film really, really well. And Mel Gibson was sort of there for, like, humorous elements and just trying to
Uh-huh.
help push her. But yeah, she was phenomenal. She was really good. I remember admiring her work at the time too when it came out.
Hmm. Yeah, she was good, and a lot of the voice casts were really good. Jane
Yeah.
Horrocks as Babs and Imelda Staunton, who's gone on to do wonderful work as an actress. She was terrific as the big chicken Bunty lays eggs.
Yes. Yes. Of course.
But
Of
it's
course.
Ginger's movie. I mean, she's the main character, clearly.